Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Coffin Talk Interviews with the Living, a weekly show that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our life. This week, my guest is Daktor Holguin. He spent almost all of his life so far in law enforcement. He worked as a police officer until he was 29, and then he was moved into the DEA, which is a national organization of the United States, and he worked there until he retired about a year ago at the age of 56, I believe, so maybe 55. But the point is, wow. What a guest to have on the show. I ask him stories about field experience. I ask him about his philosophy on law, how we defend law and enforce law. I ask him about drug policy, alcohol, the effects of how it works. We talk about evil people and good people and whether cartels have both. It's just a lot of interesting places. We go on some tangents I never thought of. And he talks about spirits and seeing, not like mediums contacting ghosts, but like when you see death and like what it's like when a person is alive and they transfer. And it was just fascinating. On top of that, I just want to actually talk about what a good man he is. He's just such a good person. His energy was so good. Like throughout the whole interview, he's smiling, but he's also staying on task and really trying to help me achieve what I want, which is a good interview and to know about his career. I think a lot of people in law enforcement are disinclined to open up and talk about the experience for actually normal, good reasons that I would have as well. And so I was just honored that he was able to open up about it. And so I think this is a great episode of Coffin Talk. I also think, as I say at the end, my goal on the show is to have everyone on. So I want like all people from all walks of life. I don't take my personal opinions and then screen guests based on that. So I'm proud of the fact that I just keep assembling different people from all over Earth who have just such different careers and lives and different like ways they believe in things. But at the core, they're still like good humans who just believe in being a good human and trying their best to be good. And I think we're all flawed, and I think we all have fears and we all act on things differently. But at the end of the day, I'm just hoping that I'm actually helping people see something, which is you can listen to the media, you can watch TV, you can go to movies, you can read books, and you can do anything you want. Don't let that distract you from what's deep inside of you, that feeling of life and that feeling of community and connection in other people, because I think it's just something that we're starting to lose with the digital age. You can still be on a phone and you can still play games and you can just do all these things, but you don't have to lose your connection to yourself and to the organs of life, to that feeling of love that you have for yourself and for other people. And so I think that's what I'm kind of on a mission to do now, is not to naysay this country or this policy or these things, but to actually just upvote, just have your heart and check in with it and just try to do a couple things that are community driven every day. Try to be there for someone, try to pick up the phone and just, even if it's a text, tell someone that you miss them, tell them that you love them. I think the time is ripe for that. I think that it's the time to use the digital technology and to use these things to connect, not to fight, not to argue, not to talk about what you want to see happen, but just to connect. Like I said, just simple messages. I miss you. I love you. Thank you for that time you did this thing. I was just thinking about you. I know we haven't talked in a year, but you really made a memorable impact on my life. No need to respond. That's one of my favorites, because the whole point is just to give your love out, and then you'll see things do come from that. If nothing else, a higher self-esteem. So once again, this is your favorite hippie friend, Mike Oppenheim, the host of Coffin Talk, checking in with you before the interview. Right after I say goodbye, you're going to hear Daktor Holguin talking about law enforcement and spirituality. Bye. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Coffin Talk, Interviews with the Living, a weekly podcast that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our life. And this week, I am proud to present Daktor Holguin. He's a retired assistant regional director with the DEA, that's the Drug Enforcement Agency of the United States of America, who has developed a unique view of the world. He's seen the best and the worst of the human spirit, and from these experiences, he has humbly learned that he has much more to learn. My goal in this podcast is to both prove to him that he is humble, but he does not have much more to learn. And my goal is to also get stories from him to help you and I see that. So let's just start out with the normal. Hi, how are you doing? And where are you from? And how old are you? And what generation, if any, do you belong to?
Well, first of all, thanks, Mike, for the invitation. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be on your show. I've seen numerous interviews as well from your show, so I'm very honored to be on your show to begin with, and thanks for the invitation. So, answer your question. 56 years old. Recently retired from the U.S. government, and generation. I guess I don't know. I recall more of the '80s than anything else. So
That's cool. Yeah, I asked the
uh,
question to kind of make fun of this whole like we belong to generations things because,
yeah.
yeah, it both is real and totally fake. And where did you grow up? What were you all over, or did you grow up in one area of America?
No, I grew up in West Texas, which is the El Paso, Texas. We're
Oh,
on the
cool.
border with Mexico.
Awesome. Well, let's annex that question into the next, or that statement into the next question. Did that lead you into the DEA? Was it like an instant leap from like high school graduation, or was there a period between that?
Oh no, I got the law enforcement from my father. He would take me on ride-alongs when I was 7 years old, and he would take me in his police car, and
Wow.
back in those days, and he was a sergeant on the shift, and as long as I didn't fall asleep in the car, it was okay because I had school the next day. So you can imagine, being in a car late night and then trying to get up to go to school the next day. So it was kind of tough sometimes.
Was it ever I would imagine just based on my youth that if my dad was a police officer, it would be the coolest thing ever, and then it might be kind of like nerve-wracking because your friends are like doing bad things or you just don't know like how to make sense of it. Was there a lot of that, or were you always like really proud of him?
No, I was definitely scared of him.
Yeah.
I always wanted to stay in the straight and narrow because I didn't want him getting upset because I've seen him, get upset at the other siblings, and they were half brothers and sisters. So no, I walked the straight and narrow. I mean, obviously, I had the occasional broken window playing baseball, fireworks and some potted plants and blew up potted plants and ran away and stuff like that. But and then for the most part, some of my really close friends, kind of did deviate from that road and did go down the other road. So I mean, I'm sure he knew about it. I never talked to him about it, but I'm sure he was well aware.
Yeah. And so did you like graduate high school thinking I'm definitely going to become a part of law enforcement? Was that just a sure thing?
No, I enjoyed it very much. And when I graduated high school, I went into engineering, and for some reason, calculus three just that did I couldn't digest it very well. So I pivoted and went the criminal justice route, and then I did a few internships with the federal agencies during my college years, and the rest is history. I went to the police department after that, and then from the police department, I got on the DEA when I was 29 years old.
Wow. Gosh, I mean, first of all, I couldn't even handle calculus one, so I'm impressed that you got through one and two. I
It
mean, that
was
was
tough,
like,
man.
yeah,
It was by the skin of my teeth. It was really tough, man. I mean, I struggled, and I still remember my professor, man. He was so patient with me, and I just couldn't grab. I don't know. I mean, and I'm really good. I was good in physics. I was
uh-huh.
good with math, but I just couldn't do it, man. I don't know what happened. It was a mind block or something. I still can't figure it out these days. I still think back, and I was like, how come I couldn't figure this out? You know?
Yeah. Our mutual friend has already been on the show, Margaret Hartshed, and it's I
Yeah.
forget which episode number, but she also did law enforcement. She was more like does the prison industrial system, and like
Yes.
uh my favorite class I ever took in college. I was an English literature and film studies major, just to give you an idea of what a slacker I was. And
Yeah.
but of all the classes I ever took, I for some reason took a criminal justice class called juvenile delinquency, and it
Yeah.
was a life changing class. It gave me so much respect for law enforcement that I did not have because the guy who taught it was the assistant district attorney of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he was like a kind, loving, caring man. He wasn't like, drugs are bad, I want to arrest you. He was like explaining, like, I go into homes, I see these kids, I know their parents are like abusive, like, it's not always their fault. We need to reach them earlier. So I don't know. It's just like cool that like I can see a similar thing. Like you're an engineer, but you take these classes. Um, I think every person in the world, or no, sorry, in America, would say our criminal justice system is flawed. I would say it's impossible for it to not be flawed. But I am curious, like, do you think it's better now, about 30 years later since you entered it, or do you think it's declined? Like, how do you feel about the current status of it all?
Well, from the aperture of the federal system, I think the quality of cases are definitely there across the board, because one of my good friends is just retired from the FBI, and so I mean across the board they do great cases. From all the agencies, from Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to HSI to ICE to Secret Service, DSS is Diplomatic Security Service, and DEA. I mean, they all do great work. So I think just the dynamics of the intricacies of putting cases together now, because you gotta roll with the times. Sometimes, well, as the traffickers back in the '80s are not as sophisticated as they are now, right? So they've evolved. So you got to evolve with the times, and I suspect it's the same. It's the same for every agency.
Yeah. And what I mean, I remember like a long time ago, I heard this like quote, and it wasn't snarky, it wasn't like sarcastic, it was being serious. It said, criminals need cops, cops need criminals. Like there's like a like thing. So yeah, you're smiling. Like how do you feel about that? Did that change over the course of your life?
No, I mean, that's a great point. There's a couple of times, and I'm sure a lot of other agents can attest to this, that you arrest somebody and then he gets out of jail, and then suddenly he goes back into the same routine and same job description, and next thing you know, you're meeting him again. But this time, it's different, obviously different circumstances, different case and stuff. But I it's a I really couldn't explain it from the shoes of. I mean, I try to be in their shoes and see why they evolve and they go back to doing the same thing. But some of them do and some of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't I really couldn't explain to you why. That's been something that's been troubled me for all these years as well. But you do have the traffickers that are, and that's the people that I wanted to go after, are the untouchables, right? And those are the guys that they're behind the scenes and you don't see them, but they are the puppet masters over their organizations.
Yeah. No, it's weird. I mean, it's especially as I age, like as a child growing up in Berkeley, I was like, oh, decriminalize drugs, blah, blah, blah. But like the one thing that never sat right was the traffickers. It was like, you can't defend that. You can't make a good case for it. And then the only argument is, oh, if it was legal, that wouldn't exist. But now I'm seeing the proliferation of legalized marijuana, and it's gross and weird and not what I would have predicted or expected. It's just like the
Right.
gambling in sports. It's just like all
Right.
money, money,
Right.
money. So it's like different people making money off the same problem.
Yep.
Uh, do you think there's like an alternate solution? Like if you were in charge of the entire DEA, would you have like done anything differently in the 90s and 2000s or?
No, I think every administrator that we've had has confronted the problems at hand, right? They're always going to be different for every administration. But there's always priorities, in every year, or every administration has their own priorities and want to set their own priorities for the agency, and I think we've done that successfully, and we always manage to do more with less, because we're not a big agency. Back then it was maybe 35 to 4,000 strong, maybe.
Wow.
Probably a little bit more now, but we've always done really, really high quality cases. And the mentors that I had were back from the '70s and the '80s, and they were really good field agents, and I think I learned from the best. And then the bosses that I've had, they've been very demanding and very straightforward in the metrics, right? That we needed to accomplish, and you set that tone, and you go after it.
Yeah. You and Margaret, the person I refer to, you're co-authoring a book about your experiences in your life. I've been privy to reading advanced chapters of it, and I love it. Um, One of the things I would say that the book does that you are doing right now in this interview, but I imagine was hard as an actual agent, is you have a soft, nice side to you. You have a big smile, you have a good sense of humor, you have a personal life, you have like you're dating, you have other people. How hard is it to be a hard ass? Like, I hope you understand what I mean by that, but like, how hard is it to put on that face and just go to work and talk to people?
Mike, maybe that manifested when I was a police officer, right? And because if you're sitting in a squad car, every call that you get is a bad call. I mean, you're not being called to go have, a cupcake and a cup of coffee, right? It's every call that you get on that radio is a bad call, whether it's an accident with fatalities or it's just um, uh, loss prevention from a dealer store. Somebody just stole something. I mean, every call is a bad call. So, answer your question. I think it's just something that it's like you put on that uniform. You put on that hat of, hey, now I'm putting on this hat, whatever hat that may be, whether it's a police officer or an agent, and you got to go to work, and you got to do your job to the best of your ability, knowledge, and experience.
If you don't mind, can you just tell me the most afraid you've ever been in any field experience? Like, is there a story that you're allowed to tell where like you really thought you might get got, something like that?
Um, I have I have two. One is a police officer when there was a gang shooting. There was a drive by, and I ended up stopping. Like, I don't remember. It was like 6 or 7 gang individuals in an alleyway in Las Cruces. But I didn't have any troubles with them. They all were respectful to me, and I was respectful to them. I mean, I had to put them on their knees and on the street and do my job. But there was 7 of them against me, and I didn't have backup at the time. So that was one. And then when I
Wow.
first did my first undercover, was in Whataburger in South Texas, where I was dealing with a heroin dealer.
And what about that made you so scared?
It was my first undercover.
Oh, I see.
It
Okay,
was it
yeah.
was it was it was the very first one. After that, it became easy
Oh,
for me.
this is a fun question. When I was a kid, they said if you ask a person selling drugs, "Are you a cop?" they have to say yes. Is that total BS or is that actually true?
Yeah, that's total BS.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Um, so what? So I guess like to a certain extent too, then you're like an actor, right? I mean, you're able to like play a role, right?
Well, I mean, you have to know, like everything else, right? Whether you're in front of a classroom, you got to know your audience, right? Or in front or doing a briefing, or you're addressing I don't know, whatever venue you're at, a convention, you got to, you're doing a PowerPoint, whatever it is that you're doing, you got to know your audience. So you study your audience and you go from there.
So how do you study like this is what I'm trying to get at. Like I've never bought heroin. I don't know how to like use the right like do you hey, you got some horse, like I can go through like things I've read. Like how do you get like that real?
Well, if every office has their own intelligence section, intelligence analyst. So you kind of get a little bit of the background on what the heroin is going for, what's the predominant um, type of heroin that's being sold in the streets, stuff like that. And then, of course, you do the background of the person you're going to be meeting, um, and you try to find out everything about him or her,
Mhm.
and you just go from there, and it's negotiations. It's a back and forth negotiations, and ultimately, hopefully, you'll get a delivery and move on from there. I mean, the ultimate goal is to get the DEA's ultimate goal is to get the highest trafficker possible.
Uh-huh.
Um, so that's what we aim for most of the time. And we have overseas offices as well. So we have Last I counted, I retired a year and 10 months ago. So it was 69 offices in 69 countries.
What about like does it ever get scary in the sense that like they expect you to try it? Like I mean, are they like, hey, don't you want to like stick a syringe in your arm? Like, does that ever come up? Like, how do you deal with
Uh,
that kind of stuff? Hi, everybody. This is Mike Oppenheim, the host of Coffin Talk, the show you're currently listening to, and I'm interrupting to ask you if you would mind doing me a favor and subscribing to my online publication called You Are Here on Substack. It features weekly essays. I also have fiction, and of course, there are links to the podcast and all the bonus episodes. It's completely free, and I would love your support. So please head over to mikeyop.com, that's MIKEYOPP.com, and sign up today. Thank you. Bye.
I'm sure that I've heard from my colleagues that that's come up, but it never came up with me. So because they always, they always knew I was a transportation person. So I never came across that kind of stuff.
Did you ever
I
feel
guess.
bad? Yeah, seriously. That's why I was wondering. Did you ever feel bad for anyone on the way up? Like you're going up the ladder and you're just kind of like, oh, I feel bad for you. Like I wish you'd made smarter decisions. Like you're actually like a good person, but you're doing awful things. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you run into people like that, and you get to know them, and you get to know what they obviously what they do and stuff because you have um, other methods that kind of tell you what this person is into. So yeah, I mean, and then you get the people that are just been told to drive a car from point A to point B, and then they get pulled over, and they're and unwitting, right? And but nonetheless, that doesn't negate the fact that you're in a car, transporting dope or
yeah.
narcotics. So you got to. That's what I'm saying is when you put on that hat, you got to do your job, and even though it's an unwitting, and it's a guy, maybe it's a 70-year-old, you know, old man or an old lady that just got coaxed into doing this, you still got to do your job.
Yeah. What about just through the entire arc of your career? So it could be from police work, anything, it doesn't matter. Is there any law or laws or like type of codification that you wish we didn't have or we repealed or we would change drastically?
Um, you mean as far as laws are concerned, like
Yeah,
laws on the books?
yeah, meaning like you were like, "Oh, well, I have to enforce this because it's my job, but I don't think this is helping with the problem. I think that this is just like not, you know."
No, that's a great question. No, I think every law in the book so far that I can think of is there for a reason. It's probably got case study behind it and stuff. So I'd say it's a perfect tool in the toolbox.
And then this is a question you can definitely say pass on because I have friends who are in the brotherhood and I understand, so I'm still going to ask it. Have you ever like had a colleague who you suspected was like a bad colleague, like they needed to be like whatever, and have you ever had to deal with that?
Well, that's open source. I mean, there's definitely bad seeds, and I think in every agency, DEA is not immune to that. I mean, there's plenty of open source articles on agents that have gone bad.
Mhm.
Fortunately, none of them are my close friends. I mean, I've known them. They probably worked in different divisions or heard their names, but I've never been close friends with them. The friends that I have, I got to tell you, especially my mentors and my bosses throughout my career have been all like just for the job, 150% for the job, and doing the right thing always. And the reputation speaks for itself, and their divisions have gotten those accolades because of that.
How do you feel about the like pro like easy access to alcohol and now marijuana? Like, do you feel like that's a big problem in just America? I don't want to talk about other countries. Or do you think that over time that's actually going to alleviate some of the problems we have?
I'm running into that problem now. Now that I'm out of the work, is a lot of youngsters are not doing marijuana, which I have family that's I would say in doing that kind of stuff, and I don't agree with it. I never have agreed with it. I never will agree with it. So that's a little bit of an abrasive environment when it comes to it. But like every person, and I'm sure you've come across people that, and also in growing up, um, every decision has consequences,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and so these people are gonna have to learn, for themselves of the choices that they make, and the decisions that they make. And ultimately, I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but at this point now, at my age, and now, um, being where I'm at, I've already come to the realization that whatever I say isn't going to change anybody. They're going to want to have to change for themselves.
So I guess.
And
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
for the most part, they haven't changed. So
Yeah, I think I'm not asking the same question. I think what you're reminding me of is just like I'm just curious because you're such an expert on seeing so much of something I don't see. Like I just get like, but I know like alcohol is like so tied into domestic violence, for example. And all my friends who are police officers are like, those are the scariest calls. Those are the worst calls. Those are the ones I,
yes,
I
I,
don't.
I,
So
I
like,
agree.
I'm just curious, like, do you think if we like hardcore banned marijuana and alcohol the way we do with cocaine and heroin, do you think that would like help our problems in America?
Um, that's like trying to wish for the lottery, man. I just I don't think that'll ever happen. If there was a way to do that, great. But think about alcohol's been in this country for you know
The whole,
years,
yeah, yeah. I
decades.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and marijuana's now become legal, and you got these dispensaries. But that doesn't stop the traffickers from moving marijuana.
Hmm.
So, and I still think the same way as I thought back in the '80s, or it's still bad.
Yeah.
Whether it's whether you say it's for medicinal purposes or not. I think there's other ways to go about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can see like I'm a person who I've experimented with different things. I've led my life the way I have. First of all, especially as a parent, I would say, of course, there are consequences, and that's the thing that actually annoys me the most about both alcohol and drug conversations, and not drugs, sorry, alcohol and marijuana conversations, is that I feel like there's people who are proponents of both who go like, nah, I mean, come on, and I'm like, I think these are all consequential decisions we make. And then the other reason I brought it up is just that I'm leading towards like my final question about law enforcement with you, and then I want to move into more like spiritual stuff. Do you have any like hope? Like, do you feel like we will overcome some of this stuff? Like, do you feel like all these efforts we make are doing anything, or do you just feel like the DEA and police officers are just like barely keeping something down and just keeping the minimum of safety we can do?
Like I said, I think we do great work, but I don't think the problems are going to go away. I mean, I think the Trump administration is doing a great job in the Caribbean. It's sending a message, a very strong message, and people beware. They shouldn't be traveling in the Caribbean at all. But you know, it's something that needs constant pressure, not just on the Western Hemisphere. I say, worldwide, right? And because every country has problems with narcotics. I mean, Russia has problems with heroin from Afghanistan, and there's plenty other countries that have a problem with narcotics. But answer to your question, I think that we're doing a great job because we are going up after the biggest and baddest traffickers. But we need more. We need more help, and I think this recently that's been transpiring in the Caribbean sends a strong message, and I'm a big supporter of that.
That's cool. Yeah. I like the way you articulate. I like the way you answer all the questions. And like I said, I want to move it into the other part of
Sure.
this podcast, which is the spiritual side. But to me, I see a connection. I see you as a man who cares deeply about humanity. Like that's what I see. You don't have to agree. I hope you do. But
Thank you. Thank you.
and
I do.
yeah, and no matter what I've felt politically my whole life, like team this, team that, these people are bad, these people are good. I know that most people who go into law enforcement, rescue, fire, EMT, you guys are great. You're just great people with great hearts who want to help. And so I'm curious if there's a spiritual connection to that. Like, do you believe in a deeper source and in like a meaning behind just the life we see?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I felt the rite of passage, right? I mean, I've been to numerous suicides. Uh, Firefighters, I think the world of them. They're great. There was a suicide that I went to on that was when I was a police officer, and it was a fire, a house fire, and obviously the fire has to be put out before I can do my investigation and do my thing there. So no, those guys are great, and I think as far as the spiritual is concerned, yeah, I mean, I think every soul that's walking, is somewhere, connected, and you feel that, when well, at least I felt it when I would go into, places where I'd see dead bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt something, yeah.
Wow, that's I was not expecting that answer. That was kind of eye opening because I only did hospice, so I like saw people who are supposed to die and then they die. Um, do you have you seen? Do you feel like you can see a life leave a body?
Yeah, no, I feel like a presence, in those particular scenes. But no, I don't think I could ever say I'd seen something like that. No, I feel a presence. I feel that somebody was there and some spirit was there. But
No, that's
you
actually
know,
really interesting. That in itself is kind of what I'm at. Like, I guess "see" is the wrong word, but like what you said is very powerful to me. We've talked as friends off the air. My
yeah,
my mother-in-law just passed away, and it was like really hard to be. I was away with my kids while my wife was there because it's her mom. I mean, it was all what we're supposed to do, but it was like hard to see her taking photos of her, on the decline and like with my hospice memories and just that feeling. And so what, like, what you're talking about is just like that times 100 to me because it's not even known by the person sometimes or planned, you know what I mean? Like it's just much more. And so I guess, do you have a theory? This is the question, we ask everyone on the show. What do you think happens when you die?
man, I have no idea, Mike. I just I know your soul obviously leaves your body, and I don't know where it goes, man. But when in those scenes that I've been to, and especially in Mexico, during all that time where a lot of people were getting killed, um, you just feel like a presence there. I mean, I couldn't explain it more than that. And but definitely, I know that there's I believe there's a heaven, and I believe there's a hell. So and somebody's going to decide which way which way the person goes to. So you know
It's I have trouble believing in hell. I want to believe in it. So I don't have trouble as in like that sounds stupid. It's more that like I just don't feel like for some reason that it like is there. Like what with your work does it help to believe in hell?
Yeah,
Like
I think so because
yeah.
and that was a good question. I wanted after you finish your comments there, I wanted to say at, I would say that before I even got into this career, even before I was a police officer, I thought I often thought that it was just heaven, right? And now being retired from everything, I feel like and I've known just people that are just evil. They're just they're just evil. And if that's, I mean, you can just sense it. And if that's there, then I know that there's a place that where evil comes from. To me anyway, in my perception and through my aperture, through my eyes, so.
So I love this interview. I love these questions. You're going down a path I never ever thought of, which is the following: do you think everyone can see that someone's evil, or do you think some people just don't have that?
That's a great question. I don't know. I can just, I can feel it. I'm sure all the my mentors, they can feel it. Um, Maybe because we've been around it, continuously all the time, right? We know how to
Yeah.
decipher that. Maybe that's just the training. I have no idea, but definitely, I think that there's just people out there that just, I mean, just evil.
Yeah.
I can't understand like all the shootings, starting in Colorado and the schools
Yeah.
and a lot of people dying senselessly. I mean, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just, and it crushes so many families. It's mind boggling, really. It is. I mean, of so much else that's going around in the different countries around the world. And, we got to have this here.
Yeah. No, it's there's a scene in the novel that you are co-writing, and it's where you go into the house and they've done a retaliation, and then you find like a boy wedged between like the I've actually cried thinking about that since I read it. It's just
I couldn't tell you how much I just sat there and I just I couldn't comprehend that. I still can't comprehend it. How do you do that? That that child had nothing to do with anything. It just it's hard. It's hardening. It's really tough.
and it's just all
And
to like sell drugs and to like make money, and like it just is so it's so heartbreaking for me. It's so and it's yeah, and I guess this is not it kind of is a question under both spiritual and your career.
sure.
Um do you think like the average American has an accurate so when I was a kid, we would go to Mexico all the time. It was just like a fun place. We went like all over. And then like as I got older, it was like don't go to Cancun. Like especially, don't go to Juarez. Juarez is worse than the Congo. Do you
Yeah.
think the media paints a pretty accurate portrayal of specifically
I
Mexican drug cartels?
I think, well, the media, obviously they're going to have the journalists going out and doing their legwork and they're doing their research and stuff like that. And I think the media, for the most part, wants to advise the common person of the landmines or the pitfalls that could happen and stuff. And rightly so. Another thing too, I've always said is look at the State Department's website. That tells you where the hotspots and where not to travel. And they're really accurate because those reports come from the actual country. So I would recommend that if you're ever going to do any traveling or any of your colleagues or family members or friends, just take a glance at that, and it'll tell you what to expect out of that country.
That's cool. That's actually really nice to know that because I've definitely seen it and heard about it, but I don't, it's on your recommendation. I definitely feel stronger.
Right.
Um, this is the second to last question of the interview.
Sure.
What, what do you think about like just the? I'm trying to think of how to relate this. Do you think like the countries of Mexico and America can be friends? Like, do you think that like we're working towards like a good like future together, or do you think a lot of this is just like causing huge rifts?
No, I think we both, like, we have our own what we want to accomplish in the United States, right? And every other country, not just Mexico. I think they also have things that they want to accomplish. Sometimes they mesh and sometimes they don't. Right now, I think the work for us in Mexico is very hard just because of the new administration. it wasn't like that before. We had very good cooperation, and during my time there, it's totally different. It's very hard for the agents now, I think, to have any type of solid cooperation. But like I said, we do more with less. So um, I think those guys are doing an outstanding job, and they always have. But there's more cooperation between the countries. Definitely, there's always room for improvement, right? So across the board, that's my stance on that.
That's cool. Yeah. And then going back to the subject of evil, do you think there's a correlation between like evil and positions of power? So not just within cartels, but like just overall heads of states, people like do you feel like evil seeks power and gets it more often than non-evil, or do you any thoughts like
Um, that's a great question. In regards to power, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be able to talk intelligently about that unless I lived in that country. Like for instance, Moscow or
yeah.
China or North Korea, and you hear what these people in power do. I mean, it's on the media, right? So there go the journalist giving you the information, right? Because I'm not sitting in North Korea, I'm not sitting in Venezuela, or I'm not sitting,
Hmm.
in Moscow. But I think I don't know. I think that yeah. I mean, evil's not just go to to the unfavored. I think it affects everybody at every level. I mean, look what's happening with the NBA.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I would have never thought that. I mean, come on. I mean, you got people making millions of dollars on just salary,
Yeah.
and they're doing this.
Yeah.
So, how do you define that as far as in a bigger picture, right? In a big socioeconomic picture, how would you describe that? How would you even define it?
Did
That's
you
something that's
ever
crazy.
did you ever encounter a person who was high up in a cartel who had a lot of power and they were doing bad things, but they weren't evil by your definition?
Well, I think if they were traffickers, they were evil already because they're
Yeah.
they're 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 moving that poison across, and people. I mean, people just by overdose alone. I mean, I think Trump put. I don't know if the Trump administration put out the number of fentanyl deaths in the United States. I don't have that offhand, but that is enormous.
Yeah.
That alone is an enormous number. And we had my aunt that lives in Colorado had a stepson that passed away as well of that. So it just affects a lot of people. So I think even if you're the puppet master, you're never touching your product, you're still culpable.
Yeah. No, great answers. I loved all your answers today. I respect you. I'm also just so proud and happy to know you and to be able to access someone with such expertise. And it's I hope for people listening, because I have people who have complimented the show saying, "Hey, you actually have a balance of guests. You have people who are law enforcement. You have this, you know." So I'm thankful that you have listened to a couple of the episodes and that you're one of these people because I think my whole goal in life is just to help people unite who are not evil,
Right.
and then we can do good things and we can be good people in a good world. Do you have a last message for my audience? Anything you want to talk about? It does not matter.
No, no, none at all, Mike. Like I said, I've watched some of your interviews. I'm honored to be on your show. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you for all the work you've been doing on the side with the group and advancing the project. I can't thank you enough. I think that's awesome, especially the crew that you have on the weekends that assist you and not only but you listen to various types of genres and you do critiques and you help all those people there. I mean, each and every person there is being helped by the group. That is so awesome. And for me, um, from the bottom of my heart, man, I really appreciate all the help that you've given me and Margaret, and also if you could relay the same message to the entire group.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you. Very flattered, very humbled by what you said. It is funny as life goes on and as I lose people like I just did, it does make it clear that the only thing that's worth your time is friendship and people and just communities and all that. So thank you, Dr. Holguin. Thank you so much for coming on my show. Thank you to everyone at home. As always, if you want to help support the show, you should head over to mikeyop.com and sign up for the free email system that I have. I'll send you funny content. I'll send you uplifting content. I'll send you tons of stuff that you never expected to get and you can't get from anyone else. So my name is Mike Oppenheim. You have been listening or watching another episode of Coffin Talk, and we will see you soon.